Hey, Falcons Nation! The 2025 offseason is heating up, and the winds of change are blowing hard in Flowery Branch. Rumors fly faster than a Matt Ryan deep ball in his heyday, and this time, they're going to catch on. A monster move is on the radar, one that could blow up the roster, shake up the NFC South, and bring back that sweet playoff taste. Who's behind it? What key pieces in play? And could this be the spark Atlanta needed to ignite the season? Before we dive into the behind the scenes of this ticking time bomb, I want to know, are you willing to risk everything for a radical change? Leave a comment, go Falcons, if you believe the time is now. And if you're truly #Falcons, don't miss out. Click the like button, activate the bell, and subscribe now, because only the lightest ones fly with the revolution. Only 1% of fans actually sign up. Let's prove that Falcons Nation is different. Comment below, which player or trade would be the Falcons' dream in 2025? The Atlanta Falcons are at a crossroads. After a 2024 season that left fans frustrated with a 7-10 record and a porous run defense, GM Terry Fontenot and head coach Raheem Morris have promised to be aggressive in rebuilding this roster. The offense showed flashes of brilliance with Kirk Cousins and Bijan Robinson, but the defense? Let's be real, it's been a liability. Atlanta's run defense ranked a dismal 26th in the NFL last year, getting gashed week after week. The front office knows that if the Falcons are going to compete in a stacked NFC South, they need to plug those gaps and bring some grit to the trenches. That's where the latest trade rumor comes in, a move that could address a glaring weakness and send a message to the league. The Falcons are done playing small ball. Let's dive into why this rumor has Falcons fans buzzing. The rumor? The Atlanta Falcons are eyeing a trade for Cleveland Browns veteran defensive tackle Shelby Harris. Yes, you heard that right, a battle-tested, run-stopping machine who could transform Atlanta's defensive front. Analyst Jordan O'Malley from Stadium Talk dropped this bombshell recently, writing, "Harris isn't a star, but he's a dependable veteran run-stopper, and that's exactly what Atlanta lacks in the middle." He brings toughness and leadership to a defensive line that needs both. At 33 years old, Harris is no spring chicken, but his 2024 stat line, 37 combined tackles, 1.5 sacks, and a knack for clogging running lanes, proves he's still got plenty in the tank. So, why Harris? And why now? Let's unpack it. Harris has been a consistent force for the Browns, but Cleveland's defensive line is bursting with young talent like Mason Graham and Mike Hall Jr. With Harris in the final year of his contract, the Browns are reportedly open to moving him to make room for their rising stars. For Atlanta, this is a golden opportunity. The Falcons' interior defensive line, anchored by Grady Jarrett but lacking depth, desperately needs a veteran presence who can hold the point of attack. Harris isn't just a plug-and-play starter. He's a leader who's been in the trenches with playoff teams like the Denver Broncos and Seattle Seahawks. Imagine him next to Jarrett, stonewalling running backs and freeing up linebackers like Troy Anderson to make plays. This could be the missing piece to turn Atlanta's run defense from a weakness into a strength. Let's talk about why Shelby Harris to Atlanta is more than just a pipe dream. It's a pragmatic move that fits the Falcons' needs like a glove. First, the run defense. Atlanta gave up an average of 137.2 rushing yards per game in 2024, one of the worst marks in the league. Teams like the Saints and Bucks ran all over the Falcons, exploiting their lack of size and experience up front. Harris, at 6 feet 2 inches and 288 pounds, is a brick wall against the run. His ability to eat double teams would take pressure off Jarrett, who's been carrying the defensive line for years. Pairing these two could create a nightmare for opposing offensive coordinators, forcing them to pick their poison, stack the box and risk Cousins carving them up through the air, or play light and get steamrolled by the ground game. Second, leadership. The Falcons' defense is young, with players like Arnold Ebiketie and D'Angelo Malone still finding their footing. Harris brings a veteran presence who's seen it all: playoff runs, high-pressure games, and locker room turnarounds. His teammates in Cleveland rave about his work ethic and ability to mentor younger players. For a Falcons team looking to build a winning culture under Raheem Morris, Harris could be the glue that holds the defensive line together. Finally, the timing. With the 2025 NFL Draft approaching, Atlanta holds the number 8 overall pick. While they could target a defensive tackle like Michigan's Kenneth Grant, trading for Harris allows them to address the need now without burning a high draft pick. Plus, the cost is manageable. More on that later. This move would signal to Falcons fans that the front office is serious about contending in 2025, not just rebuilding for the future. Now, Falcons fans, let's pump the brakes for a second. This trade sounds exciting, but it's not without hurdles. Here are the three biggest challenges Atlanta would face in pulling this off. Age and contract concerns. At 33, Harris is no long-term solution. He's in the final year of a 2-year, $7 million deal, which means Atlanta would be renting him for one season unless they extend him. Is a 1-year stopgap worth the cost, especially when the Falcons need to plan for the future with players like Jarrett also aging? Trade cost. While Harris isn't a superstar, he's a valuable rotational player. The Browns could demand a mid to late round pick, think a 4th or 5th rounder, or even a developmental player in return. With 22 players hitting free agency in 2025, Atlanta needs every draft pick to fill holes at cornerback, edge rusher, and defensive line. Can they afford to part with assets for a veteran who might only play one season? Scheme fit. Atlanta runs a 3-4 defense under coordinator Jimmy Lake, which requires versatile linemen who can play multiple gaps. Harris has thrived in both 3-4 and 4-3 schemes, but his primary strength is as a run stopper, not a pass rusher. Will he provide enough value in passing situations, or will he be a situational player, limiting his overall impact? These challenges are real, but they're not deal breakers. The Falcons have the cap space to absorb Harris's contract, and a mid-round pick is a reasonable price for a player who could transform their run defense. The bigger question is whether Fontenot and Morris see Harris as the final piece or just a temporary fix. Let's get down to brass tacks. What would it take to land Shelby Harris? Recent trades for veteran defensive linemen offer some clues. In 2023, the Eagles traded a 6th-round pick for Kentavious Street, a rotational player with a similar profile to Harris. Given Harris's experience and production, Cleveland might ask for a 4th-round pick or a package of late-round picks. Alternatively, the Falcons could sweeten the deal by including a developmental player like a backup offensive lineman or a young linebacker who doesn't fit their long-term plans. For Atlanta, the cost is manageable but not insignificant. With holes across the roster, giving up draft capital for a 33-year-old veteran could be a tough sell. However, if the Falcons believe Harris can elevate their defense to playoff caliber, the trade becomes a no-brainer. Imagine a scenario where Atlanta's run defense jumps from 26th to top 15 in the league. Suddenly, games against run-heavy teams like the Eagles or Bucs become winnable. That's the kind of impact that could justify the cost. So, Falcons fans, here's the million-dollar question. Is trading for Shelby Harris worth it? On one hand, he's a proven commodity who addresses a glaring weakness. Pairing him with Grady Jarrett could create one of the NFL's most formidable interior defensive lines, giving Atlanta a real chance to compete in the NFC South. His leadership and experience would also help a young defense take the next step, especially in clutch moments. On the other hand, the Falcons have bigger fish to fry. With Kirk Cousins' contract eating up cap space and key players like Kyle Pitts and Drake London approaching extensions, Atlanta needs to be strategic. Trading for Harris might solve one problem but leave others, like the secondary or pass rush, unaddressed. There's also the option of targeting younger talent in free agency or the draft, which could offer more long-term upside. Here's where you come in, Falcons Nation. Would you pull the trigger on this trade, knowing it could transform the defense but cost valuable assets? Or would you rather see Fontenot focus on younger players or different positions? The beauty of this rumor is that it forces us to dream big. What could this team look like with a revamped defensive line? Could this be the move that gets Atlanta back to the playoffs for the first time since 2017? Falcons fans, the offseason is heating up, and this trade rumor is just the beginning. What do you think? Should Atlanta go all in for a veteran like Shelby Harris, or should they play the long game with draft picks and youth? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's get this debate rolling. If you loved this breakdown, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update on the latest Falcons news. The road to the playoffs starts now. Go Falcons!